And speaking of doing stuff, I'm going to bring back our CEO, Bill Nye, the Science Guy, to introduce our final speaker before lunch. Somewhere out there through the lights, I see Bill marching forward. Hi, Bill! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Bill Nye!
Thank you, Dr. D. Dr. Bruce Betts, not bad. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for staying with. We have, to me, an extraordinary special guest. This woman has been part of the Planetary Society for a long time. She was on our board. Then she had to recuse herself because she took a job as the deputy administrator of NASA. This woman controls billions of dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, Lori Garver.
Thank you, Bill. It doesn't feel like control billions of dollars, but I know that NASA is a place that carries our dreams and aspirations, and it is an honor to be there. It is an honor to be at Planetfest. As Bill said, I've had a long history with the Planetary Society. I just had coffee with Lou Friedman, and we were reminiscing. I believe my first Planetfest was 1989 for the Neptune encounter. I've been at several since, and I can't imagine at any of those being able to predict not only what we would be having Planetfest over this year, the amazing Curiosity mission, but that they would no longer let me watch it with the thousands of you and supporters. I'm going to have a little bit of a different view tomorrow night. They've asked me who I want to sit by, and my choices are the director of NRO, the DNI, several members of Congress, the head of CNES. So I will be with you in spirit. It is on behalf of the public that we do this mission and all of the things we do. So I thank the Planetary Society and all of you for your support. So there are going to be lots of people who are going to talk to you about the details of the mission and about how big it is, how challenging, what it is supposed to do, how many things need to go right to make it work. I tend to be the why person. Why do we do it? Why do we go to Mars? Why do we spend $2.5 billion on a mission like this? Why, in fact, do we have NASA and spend $17.7 billion on behalf of the public for aeronautics and space programs? And early on, a favorite president of mine said we do these things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. And my view is quite similar, but I like to say we do them because we can. We are the species who can explore. We always have, and we're the one species that does it for reasons other than just our own survival. Who are we then in this time to say this far and no further, that we're going to stop exploring? None of us want to live in that world, and I think it's a privilege to live at a time when we can do it, when we are exploring with robots and humans farther than we've ever been before, and that we live in a country where we are leading that effort as we work together internationally. So humanity has the ability now. We have the, dare I say, curiosity to do this, and we have always explored. I believe it is one of our most intrinsically human characteristics. So the NASA vision is to reach for new heights and reveal the unknown so that what we do and learn will benefit all humankind. And how better to represent what it is we do at NASA than the Mars Science Laboratory? And what is that benefit? The benefit of all humankind. We provide benefit, of course, as we drive our technology through doing these audacious missions. That drives innovation, that drives economic expansion through new inventions, through having a more competitive industry and academia and through lowering costs and opening new markets. Our plan helps us do this, and we know that helps lift the standard of living for all. It also teaches us more about our home planet. As we go out, we look back at our home planet, we study comparative planetary systems, and we learn how we can better take care of this beautiful blue marble. But it also raises the human spirit. For all of us, young and old alike, it shows us what we can do when we work together toward a common goal that unites us as a people. So I grew up in mid-Michigan, daughter of my father and grandfather were farmers. My grandfather was in the state legislature and the state senate, and it was a time when you considered public service a positive thing. He went into the state legislature to help create a better situation, pass laws to help his fellow farmers. And when I went off to college, I majored in political science and economics, recognizing, in my view, that that was a calling that each of us should aspire to leave the world a better place than we found it, or as Bill Nye would say, to change the world. So I moved to Washington, D.C. after college to help do that, but the person who inspired me the most, who was actually going to space at the very week that I was graduating from college, was Dr. Sally Ride. And she was truly the person who first allowed me to recognize and see what we were doing in space, because I'd never really paid that much attention to it. People who were going into space didn't look like me. There wasn't much reason to think that that was something that could be part of my future. So Sally, of course, started for so many of us as that role model. She is the person who inspired me the most and who taught me so much, even in her death, about what it is that is important about space exploration. So Sally's flight caused me to pay attention, but she truly did not want that, of course, to be her legacy. There are so many quotes about how she didn't want to make a big deal about being the first woman in space. She truly wanted to fly in space, responded to an ad to go to space, and continue her science and her research and have that experience. She has said that she did not want the position of being this role model because she was a private person, and she truly did not believe it was a big deal. But she saw the public reaction, and she not only accepted it, but she embraced her unique role. And when we think about all that she contributed to NASA, to the country, and to exploration, and to all people, I think it puts her, to me, in the role truly of changing the world. So well beyond her space flights, Sally's contribution to space, NASA, and exploration included the RIDE report, where she coined the phrase mission to planet Earth and mission from planet Earth, really incorporating all those aspects of NASA. She then served as the sole astronaut representative on the Challenger Accident Investigation Board and the Columbia Accident Investigation Board. And when you talk to people who worked with her on those commissions, her contribution was unmatched. She was someone who delved into the details. She understood the big picture as well, and she was able to lend her unique credibility to those investigations. But for me, I worked the closest with her these last few years when she again answered the call and agreed to serve on the Augustine Committee, the Committee on the Future of Human Spaceflight, as appointed by President Obama. And I was head of the transition team, and we needed a team of people who would be fair, unmatched, beyond reproach, and she answered the call knowing how busy she was, knowing how committed she was to her private life as well as to Sally Ride Science for Girls, and she participated in the commission and really did most of the work on this commission and lended, again, her credibility to the very plan that we have now. It is not lost and should not be lost on any of us that we would not have advanced as far as we are without Sally Ride. Her participation in Augustine allowed us to see that we could work with a commercial spaceflight private sector in order to launch our precious astronauts to and from space, and it put us on this path that is already reaping such rewards. So as a mentor and an inspiration, we know that what she set out to achieve is different than where she ended up, but she evolved. And a person in her position who used what was given to her for the greatest benefit for us all, I don't think we will ever be able to thank her enough. So it will always be one of the great privileges of my life that I got to know Sally, that I got to work with Sally and count her as a friend. I think we should all think about how many of us truly would be here without her, and with such grace she carried out this important role for all of humanity. So although her life was much too short, Sally really did change the world, and I hope we can all carry out her charge to take risks and explore on behalf of all humanity in her honor. We are again taking that huge step tomorrow night with Curiosity's landing, and thank you to Sally and to all of you at the Planetary Society, who she was also very involved with and a strong supporter of. Go Curiosity.
Can you stick around for a question? So, thank you, Lori. A little choked up. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Garver? This is our time. Deputy Administrator of NASA. So, Lori.
It's all good.
It's all good. Is anything going to go wrong tomorrow? You have a question? Yeah, well, there's one over here. Please.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you said earlier that $17.5 billion for NASA. So my question, and I'm sure a lot of people's question, is that enough, and why isn't it more?
Sure. So it turns out in a democracy, the people get to elect folks who decide this, and we have a process that we are actively participating in. The president has requested increased budgets during the last 4 years. We requested over $1 billion that first year to $19 billion. Congress, which is their absolute right to do, cut that by nearly $1 billion. And this year we have requested 17.7, which is basically equal to last year's budget, the level Congress set. Of course, I believe that we our investment in the future, and that we will well spend any investment the public decides to entrust us with. On the other hand, I guarantee you, with that amount of money, we are going to continue to deliver the very best space program on the planet. If you total up every other space agency's budget on the planet, they equal about 3/4 of NASA's budget. We are the leading space program. We lead and work with our international partners, but let there be no mistake, NASA is working on behalf of the American people and the world to deliver the benefits of space exploration. And we just truly believe that there is a lot of bipartisan support in Washington, and at a time when we have to make tough choices, we continue to see a lot of support for this level of investment. And all of you participate in the political system, and that's how it works. As a political science major, I couldn't be more supportive of all of our ability to work within that system to make sure that the country's priorities are the right ones and keep us in a leading role.
Yeah, Kim Stanley Robinson wrote a really great trilogy, and aside from the Mars one that everybody likes, he also did Science in the Capitol about global warming and how the National Science Foundation kind of hijacked the world and all the corporations and all the scientists to work towards a common goal in solving the global warming crisis? Why can't the National Science Foundation take that power and use it for something like this as well?
You know, we do work with the National Science Foundation. It's an always interesting point for me, given that our budget is actually larger than theirs. So one of the things I like to make sure people understand is NASA is about much, much more than science. We're about science, but if we were just science, we would be sort of a sub of the National Science Foundation. And we go for many reasons, as I talked about, to explore that are benefits to us, science and new knowledge and revealing the unknown being one of them. So I'm not sure it would be NSF's role. I again believe that the unique perspective of space on our planet, that we get from space on our own planet and its future, plays a role in climate change and the kinds of things that we know we need to study to recognize what is happening and then study to know what to do about it. NASA has the monitoring role, has the role to advance the technology that will allow us to understand better what is happening with our planet. The wider government and the Office of Science Technology Policy and the laws that are passed in Congress are necessary to address this, and that's just the United States piece. Truth is, in my view, this is a global role. Obviously, we recognize the United States plays a pretty big part, but not by far the largest. So we need to be good stewards of the planet within our own government in the United States and beyond, is my view.
Okay, thanks.
So we can
Well,
just take two more questions.
Thank you for being here. A long time, from the very beginning, a Planetary Society member, and it's so wonderful to see NASA on the same page with us. And I just wanted to ask you, being that we do live in a political world of which the news would be finding life on Mars and that sort of thing, which I think would do the most to increasing NASA's budget, as we will all then identify with something that's truly important. So my question is that though this mission is not aimed at that specifically, was any missions aimed at finding a life and that being its major objective?
NASA for a long time for science and for Mars specifically has been follow the water. We, as you know, when we find water, we find life, and this is something that we continue to believe as we select landing sites and so forth, of both studying past, present, and what might be evolving to the future. So, of course, we continue to have this as our plan, and NASA is in reformulation now on the next number of Mars missions that will continue with that goal. You know, my personal view is there are a couple of things that could happen that would allow us to really increase NASA's budget, and certainly one would be finding life, or even probably intelligent life somewhere else, or an incoming asteroid, right? So you've all heard Neil deGrasse Tyson's fabulous speech about why we invest in these great things, and it's fear, greed, and glory. And I believe NASA has all three, and Mars is actually a big part of all three. And certainly the life story and how that evolved on Mars is something that we continue to have drive all our future planning. Last one here.
Well, it was great hearing your tribute. I personally love the success stories of people who are inspired by astronauts, especially ones like Sally Reed. And my question is, with the current budget proposal, it's one thing I noticed that a lot of the money that's allocated for educational outreach has been limited. And I was wondering, what are some things we can do as students or as people from the general public to help influence that, so that future people can be inspired by astronauts and by our exploration?
The question is, what are we doing beyond inspiration for public outreach?
Yes. What can we do to help promote that?
Well, so I've, of course, as so many, inspired by astronauts, and Sally in particular. It is something that underlies, I think, all of what NASA does. If you just look at this mission, I don't know if this has been reported, but 2 days ago, I got a message we passed the Olympics as far as followers on Twitter. and we haven't even landed yet, so the NASA education budget is about $140 million, and with that, we try to leverage partnerships. We help teachers because we know they have the greatest impact on students, but truthfully, that is such a small piece of our true education and outreach budget. Every science mission has a requirement for a couple percentage that will go specifically to education, but in everything we do, and again, I just think this mission is maybe not typical, but an example, a bright and shining example of how we do that between all the new social media opportunities, but as well as the traditional media. I'm working on a little Stairmaster this morning, watching CNN. Must have been a 5-minute piece on it this morning. The world is watching. I was in Europe last week meeting with some of our partners. Everyone will be holding their breath tomorrow night, if you can hold your breath for 7 minutes. And maybe Michael Phelps will be the most successful at that, right? So how many people will that touch? How many people will that lift up, not just in this country, but around the world, to say, when we work together, we can do amazing things. And again, it has tangible benefits that it drives technology and innovation, inspires students to go into these fields, but it inspires us all to recognize, I think, we'll not only look at our neighbors differently, and as the previous speaker, David Brin, said, talking to your friends and family about this amazing thing that we do. We live in this time, and communicating its importance is part of NASA's very mission, and I know it's part of Planetary Societies, and like the person who just asked the questions noted, it is great to see us working together so closely on these common goals. So thank you, Bill Nye, for leading the Planetary Society at these exciting times, and it's a pleasure working with you and to
Dare I
change
the world. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Lou.